If you are a person who likes morally gray characters or downright evil characters, you're being racist right now, Akasha. What's up, y'all? It is the most wonderful time of the year because Blackathon is upon us, and today my Blackathon merchandise came in the mail. I cannot wait to show it off. This is the first year that we've ever had merch, and I wanted to do something really special for Blackathon this year since it marks the 5-year anniversary of Blackathon beginning. So I wanted to design some merchandise, and I just love how it looks. I got this in forest green and the same thing in a black crop, and I got a sweater that's heather gray, and I'm just in love with it. I'm so freaking happy. Now, this video is extra special because I will be giving recommendations for Team Granny Nanny, which is the team that I have chosen to declare for officially for Blackathon. So we have tons of amazing options for y'all to choose from. There's definitely going to be something for every type of reader, I'm hoping. Without further delay, let's get into my recommendations and suggestions. Reminder that Team Granny Nanny is named after Nanny of the Maroons, an infamous leader of the Maroon War, and all prompts are based off of her traits, abilities, and accomplishments. Prompt number 1 is a charming protagonist who has spiritual or fantastical abilities, and I'm really excited about this. I did it this way so that people of different genres can pick something out. Now, I am going to recommend Vagabonds by Elagosa Osun. Set in Nigeria, vagabonds are those whose existence is literally outlawed. The queer, the poor, rogue spirits, displaced, and Osunde's brave, fiercely inventive novel traces a wild array of characters. Osunde's brave, fiercely inventive novel traces a wild array of characters for whom life itself is a source of resistance. A driver for a debauched politician with the power to command life and death, a legendary fashion designer who gives birth to a grown daughter, a lesbian couple whose tender relationship sheds unexpected light on their experience with underground sex work, a wife and a mother who attends a secret spiritual gathering that shifts her world. As their lives intertwine, the vagabonds are seized and challenged by spirits who command the city's dark energy. I'm also going to be suggesting God of Mercy by Okezi Nwoka. Now, this and Vagabonds are 2 books that I personally have not read yet, but I have not heard a single bad review, and this one is by a non-binary author. I'm hoping to make it an NBC pick at some point. Now, God of Mercy is more than a beautiful cover. In the village of Ichulu, the people's worship of their gods and adherence to tradition has allowed them to evade the tyranny of the white ones. But the village is reckoning with changes, including a war between gods signaled by Ijeoma, a girl who can fly. At one point, our protagonist is imprisoned by a Christian church, and I feel like this is an amazing book for those of you like myself who love books that blend spiritualism with fantasy, and I am so freaking excited about it. So this and the last book are going to be amazing picks for those of you who don't want like a full fantasy world building, if that makes sense, and I'm really excited about both of them. Next up, I have selected Skin of the Sea. This is a story about a mermaid. I believe her name is Simi. Yes, her name is Simi. And while she once prayed to the gods, now she has become Mami Wata herself and is charged with taking souls to their final resting place. But she defies a decree of the gods and saves this boy and is punished as a result of doing so. And I think that she seems like such a charming protagonist, even though I haven't read her, and I'm just so excited to get to it. So all 3 of these are suggestions more than recommendations, but they're all 3 books that I'm hoping to get to myself this February. Now, I tried very hard to pick book recommendations that are not often given. So there are some very well-known fantasies, black fantasies, and black novels that I can recommend for these prompts, such as, oh my god, Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit you. I didn't know you were right there. Such as Transcendent Kingdom by Yajasi, because that is a very spiritual protagonist, a woman who is a scientist, and she's Ghanaian American, and she's struggling with her belief. And so for those of you who don't want to read any fantasy, Transcendent Kingdom would be a really, really good choice for this prompt. However, that book is kind of everywhere, and so that's why I decided to select these 3 books for this prompt, because they are under celebrated works. I'm also going to be recommending The Undertakers and The Conductors. These books have seen some love, but not nearly enough in my opinion, and the protagonist Hetty is just one of the most charming, incredible protagonists that you'll ever meet. She is known for spinning stories, and I feel like this is an amazing book for this prompt. Like, out of all the books I've recommended, this is a book that I think fits the prompt so completely and wholly. Now, if you're not familiar with these books, which are also getting an adaptation, and I'm really hoping, I'm really hoping that we're gonna get a 3rd book in the installment this year in 2023. But basically, this follows a group of ex-enslaved individuals who now are using their magic, which is celestial in nature, in order to solve crimes in their community. And it is amazing. It's queer, it is well built, it is well written, it is emotional, it is funny, it's laugh out loud, it follows a really fantastically tight-knit group of friends. So this book also satisfies another prompt for Team Granny Nanny, and I highly, highly recommend it. Next up, we have a prompt that says to read a book where the character is mixed race and or an immigrant. And I'm really, really excited about this prompt because I think it's going to allow me to get to some books that I've been putting off for a while, one of which is The Scent of Burnt Flowers. This is by Blitz Basawul, a gorgeous name, and I'm obsessed with this cover. She reminds me so much of the alien from The Fifth Element. If you know, you know. Do I have any Fifth Element fans? Comment down below with your favorite character and or your favorite moment in the movie. I actually have a Fifth Element tattoo. I have ectogamete tattooed here, and comment down below if you know what that means. You're gonna get so many points from me. Opening on December 26, 1965, a pit stop in the wrong part of an Alabama town ends with blood on a newly engaged couple's hands. And the only way they'll survive persecution is to flee the country. With a persistent FBI agent on their tail, they travel to Ghana to seek asylum and the help of an old college friend who happens to be the country's embattled president. The couple's chance encounter with one of Ghana's most beloved musicians, who's headed to perform for the president, sparks a journey full of suspense, lust, magic, and danger as a regime crumbles around them. What is meant to be a fresh start quickly threatens both their relationship and their lives. Steeped in the history of West Africa at the intersection of the civil rights movement in the United States, this hypnotic debut novel merges political intrigue, otherworldly encounters, and forbidden romance in an epic collision of morality and power. It's just giving 5 stars. It's giving 5 stars. Like, I'm so excited to read this. So some of y'all gotta read this with me. This came out on June 28th of last year, and I never got around to it. Another really fantastic book for those of you who want a romance. I don't want that. You're being racist right now, Akasha. You're interrupting Black Joy. For those of you who are fans of romance, I highly recommend The Sweetest Remedy, especially if you're like myself and you do not like romance, because this is a romance book that I read and actually really, really enjoyed. I gave it a high 4 or maybe even a 5 star, which says a lot. Now, this book has gotten some hype, but I really don't feel like it is as hyped as it should have been. And this is a story about a girl who is half Black, half Nigerian, I believe, and she never knew her father, who is obscenely wealthy, and when he passes, she travels to Nigeria in order to be named in the will or something and get to know her half siblings, and
they do not want her there.
But as she's there, she meets a man and falls in love, and it is a really beautiful story that has travel and talk about what it means to be mixed race and multicultural and colorism, and just, it's really fantastic. I very, very much enjoyed it. It's a book that I would happily reread. Yes, so her father was a Nigerian entrepreneur, and it is also set on an island, which I forgot about. So this satisfies another prompt, which is to read a book set on an island, because this is set in Banana Island, one of Nigeria's most affluent areas. Oh my god, we love killing two birds with one stone. Satisfying the prompt of a book set in Jamaica and or on an island, I can recommend The Sweetest Remedy, but my official recommendation is going to be Here Comes the Sun by Nicole Dennis Benn. This is a very, very beloved book, and I feel like BookTube per se doesn't really read a whole lot of Nicole Dennis Benn, and y'all need to fix that. So in some circles this book is crazy hyped, which is what it should be, but I just don't feel like that's the case on BookTube. Hold on, I need a wine break. This is one of the most devastating books that I have ever had the privilege of reading. It is following three women who are just trying to get through life, and they are all related. You get to follow all three of their perspectives as they move through life. If you are a person who likes morally gray characters or downright evil characters, you have to read this book. This is a book that is so much more devastating emotionally and physically than A Little Life, and I don't recommend reading A Little Life, but for those of you who like to be absolutely gutted by the end of a book, you can look no further. There is a really, really complex sapphic relationship within this book. Nicole Dennis Benn is just known for never giving straightforward characters. Her characters are always in the gray in some way, and they feel the most real out of any writer that I've ever read. I don't know how she is able to craft such real people and to make the reader feel so absolutely frustrated with them, and to share in their joy and to feel their disappointment. But to read Nicole Dennis Benn is to be utterly consumed by her work. This is one of the best books that I have ever read in my entire life. It will make you laugh, it will make you cry, it will make you angry. It has amazing conversations about class, and it's an unforgettable novel. What I love about this book is the setting. We're following Margot, who is the manager on this resort, and one of the things that I love so much about this book is how it talks about tourism and what tourism has done to Jamaica. And basically she is using her position at the hotel to start running a sex worker operation out of the hotel, and she's willing to stop at nothing in order to get herself out of poverty. But because of that, she's really, really hard on her sister. I thought it was her daughter, but no, it's actually her sister, and her sister's name is Thandi, and she's trying really hard to prevent Thandi from having the same fate. So she makes her study all of the time and has aspirations of her being a doctor, but what Thandi really wants is to be an artist. It doesn't sound wildly exciting, but I promise you, you'll be utterly riveted. Like,
You have to read it.
the next prompt says to read a book that has a tight-knit group of friends or features unlikely allies. So of course the Undertakers and the Conductors would be amazing for this prompt. But my official recommendation is going to be Lead Me Astray by Sandy Warner. This is one of the most underrated books that I have ever read. I
literally
am so obsessed. Like, the way that I continue to Google refresh and check to see if the latest installment in this series has been announced is real.
These bags are designer.
I have been waiting for far too long, which is like 7 months, for a sequel. I read this book in the vlog that I did where I read 5, or was it 7 murder mysteries. They were all Black murder mysteries, and Akasha had to solve a mystery at the beginning of that video. That's a video that I'm so proud of, and in my opinion, it didn't get enough love, nowhere near as much love as like I put into it. So if you're interested in seeing one of my videos that in my opinion is very under-celebrated, I will leave that down below. If you want to check it out, it would mean a lot to me, and you would get to see my intense experience reading this. And I actually kind of want to just go back and watch that video just to watch the part where I read this book so I can relive it, because It was just so amazing. And basically this is a paranormal romance, but in my head it's so much more than that. And you know, if I'm strongly recommending a paranormal romance, then it's amazing. Self-published, indie published book, and it's a paranormal romance where we are following this girl, this black girl. She's very shy, she's very straight-laced, and then she's hit by a car and becomes a ghost, and she's trying to solve her own murder. So if you like that trope, you're gonna love this. And she basically is asked for help from this really hot South Asian guy who happens to be a werewolf, and also this super hot intersex, I think they're Japanese, I believe, and they're an empath. I'm sorry, I can't remember what pronouns Miss, who is the psychic empath, I can't remember what pronouns that they use, so I'm just gonna use they, them for now. There's a polyamorous relationship that starts from the three of them. It is super hot, super steamy. The mystery is phenomenal. The character work is great. I really, really love this book, and I really want you guys to support this author. So they become a tight-knit group of friends, but start as unlikely allies. I also am going to be recommending the Akata Witch books, the Incivity scripts. Now, again, you're gonna be like, okay, like everybody knows these books, they're around.
Yeah, but not everybody has read them.
These books are like bestsellers, but I just don't hear booktubers actually reading and recommending them enough. So I'm going to keep yelling about these books, especially until they get an adaptation, because this is like the first middle grade fantasy that has made me cry in a really long time. Akata Woman, the latest book, I sobbed. And last year I hit my peak, and it was when Dr. Nydia Okorafor agreed to an interview with me, and I almost shit my pants talking to her. It was amazing. I was having a panic attack the whole fucking time, and you guys were like, oh my god, you did so good, Jessie, which I'm so glad I seemed normal, but I was literally sweating, like squeezing my thigh to keep it together, like literally digging my nails into my thighs because I was so anxious and terrified. And I'm glad that I seemed more put together than I actually felt. But that was the highlight of my life, was getting to interview Dr. Okorafor, and I will never ever forget that moment as long as I live. But basically this is a book series about Sunny, who is a Nigerian witch, and she starts attending this magical academy with two other powerful children, and they become very, very good friends. And this series is about their adventures. It is incredible. It is spiritual and fantastical and powerful. It is empowering. It is well written. It's beautiful. The audiobooks are fantastic. The character work is incredible. And honestly, Akata Woman is the best in the series thus far, because you have a revelation about Sunny, and I literally fucking cried. I literally screamed when I found out about, you find out something about Sunny and the nature of who she is, and it's going to make you shit your pants. It's amazing. So I highly recommend that book. And I'm also going to recommend the Beasts of Prey and Beasts of Ruin books, because they are literally from two different worlds and they become unlikely allies. Again, yes, it's a popular book, but it's just not celebrated enough. So basically you are following an indentured servant who is forced to care for magical creatures, and they're very, very volatile. It's an incredibly dangerous job, and you are following her and this kind of disgraced soldier from this organization that's actually quite oppressive in protecting the community, and they end up teaming up to go find this mythical beast before anybody else can. It is a fantastic book series, and I'm so excited for the adaptation. And the final books that I'm going to suggest, because I haven't read them so I can't technically recommend them, those final books are going to be the Good Luck Girls and the Sisters of Reckoning. These covers are so stunning, and I'm really, really excited to get to this series because I genuinely have heard nothing but good things. The country of Arquetta calls them Good Luck Girls. They know their luck is anything but. Sold to a welcome house and branded with cursed markings, they're trapped until the day a man is killed and 5 girls escape. Now pursued by powerful forces, both human and inhuman, they begin a harrowing journey to find freedom, justice, and revenge. I am so excited about this. Like, any kind of dark sisterhood story is a big yes for me, and it's from a Black non-binary author. And the final book that we have is the group book, Riot Baby by Tochi Onyebuchi, one of my all-time favorite books, and who knows, maybe I'll reread it this year. Elle has a thing. She sees a classmate grow up to become a caring nurse. A neighbor's son murdered in a drive-by shooting. Things that haven't happened yet. Kev, born while Los Angeles burned around them, wants to protect his sister from a power that could destroy her. But when Kev is incarcerated, Ella must decide what it means to watch her brother suffer while holding the ability to wreck cities in her hands. This book is one that will make you absolutely furious, but you have to read it. I don't see how he was able to pack so much into a book that is less than 200 pages, but he did that. He understood the assignment, and in my opinion, this will be taught in lecture halls one day. It is an absolute masterpiece. It should have won a Pulitzer. It's literally that good. Those are my Blackathon book recommendations for Team Granny Nanny. Please comment down below if you are doing Team Granny Nanny and let me know what your TBR is, especially if you have any recommendations for these prompts. Points if they are under celebrated books. But if you are not doing Team Granny Nanny, I still want to know what team you're going to be participating in, and if you made it this far in the video, just want to let me know. Why don't you type granny or put like a little emoji of an elder person in there so that you can just let me know that we made it this far. Don't forget about my Patreon. I just added a $1 tier, and the Patreon has been redesigned to fit a Hannibal theme, and I'm so obsessed with it. But all my other socials are down below. Stay safe until next time. I just can't wait to see you in my next video.